We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love, we adore everything in college football. And if you do as well, if you need just a little bit of extra college football content to get you through the days, to get you through the nights, subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Share it with your priest, your psychiatrist, your significant other. Share it with your cat and your dog. Welcome into the house that sits on the corner. Better to give you a peek around the corner. That sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Welcome in. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. College football's peek around the corner. We have a lot to get to tonight. We're going to open up the phone calls as soon as we can. I do apologize. We're starting this a little bit early. We at the Pflugar household have been extremely busy. Extremely busy. The moderator, the little general who rules with an iron fist, has gone off to visit her family since the first time since the pandemic. So today was the first day she's enjoying herself in the country of Mexico. So it's been very, very busy. And it's also been very busy in the college football world. Cloak and Dagger is running deep in May. Now, I know people are saying nothing's going on, Greg. There's nothing going on. You keep saying put your head on a swivel, and I'm not seeing anything. Well, history will be kind to us. Take a look back a couple days ago. Circle those dates on your calendar. In the hot bubble of action, it happened. What's the aftermath? We'll discuss tonight. But what we were tracking actually happened. So welcome on into College Football's Peek Around the Corner. Before we get to our show, First of all, we got to thank our sponsors. Welcome to the Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. We invite you to discover the Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters difference. The clean, hot air, roasted coffee produces a smoother, richer, healthier coffee that is less bitter and less acidic. Our hot air roasted coffee uses convection heat to loft the beans for a very even heat transfer. The clean, the bright taste that people rave about is achieved by roasting the bean quickly and evenly while suspended on a bed of hot air from craft to cup. Hand-picked coffee beans, the smoothest coffee. The smoothest coffee you will ever drink. Give it a try. Go to the link provided in the description. And if you want to support our channel in doing so, put PATC in the comment section while you're ordering your bag of beans, the smoothest coffee the Little General has ever had. And then go visit our merchandise store. Again, a link provided. There's going to be some new t-shirts popping up with some new art. So take a look at that. But let's get to the stories, okay? You know how this works. Monologue. We'll get to your comments, then we'll get to your phone calls. The phone line is not open yet. But we'll get to it. I'll let you know when it's open. Okay. Last Friday night, we did a live show. It has been a while. And I got to tell you, I sat back. I looked at what was being said over the weekend, what was being said on a Monday, on a Tuesday, that Saturday and Sunday. It definitely feels like, for me personally, the same feelings I had back in the spring of 2022. A little bit different. The story is different, but man, there's a lot of people who don't know what's going on. Honestly. A lot of people focused on stuff. There's reports out of Utah, out of ESPN, about Pac-12 has a deal done, or they have parts of it done, the linear part done, not the streaming part. There was a Dennis Dodd article that came out saying that ESPN is not going to be the primary rights holder of the Pac-12. And Dennis Dodd said, but they're going to keep talking, but it looks like the Pac-12, ESPN is not all that interested in being the primary holder of the rights. There was more articles coming out about claiming that certain people are doing a disinformation campaign. There was one person that came out and basically said, I run a newsletter and I'm professional, and the people behind the microphones on the YouTube channel, you can't really trust what they're saying. There was a lot of that stuff going on, but there wasn't hardly anybody. There were some people out there doing some incredible reporting. I just can't tell you who they are. I can't tell you who they are. I will. Once look, the hot bubble of action, I still can't go into detail about it because we're still dealing with the aftermath. But it will come out. It will come out in its full glory. And if it doesn't, a couple of months from now, 3 months from now, I will put it out in its full glory. I'll protect everybody. I'll protect the sources. No question about it. But I'll put it out there. My goodness. So the Pac-12 is hanging by a thread, a single thread. There's some good news out of that hot bubble of action for the Pac-12. There is some good news. and then there's some bad news. And I cannot get into the detail of the hot bubble of action. I can't do it. Now you might say, Greg, you're not giving us any evidence that there was anything. I agree with you. I'm not giving you any evidence. I'm not giving you any evidence at this point. But just circle the calendar of a few days ago, a couple days ago. Circle that right now. And that will be highlighted in the stories to come. But there is bad news, good news coming out of that, bad news coming out of that for the Pac-12. And I'm going to say out in the open what people cannot say, they do not want to say, but I'm going to say it here at Peek Around the Corner tonight. Here's the good news. The good news is for the Pac-12, and even if they don't know it happened, and it seems like they don't, and even though the reporters out in the West Coast do not know that it happened, because it seems like they don't, the Pac-12 got punched in the solar plexus here in the hot bubble of action, dabbed in the middle of when we said April 28th to May 17th, Pac-12 got punched. They got rocketed. And the good news is they're still standing. An event happened in a hot bubble of action, an event that we were tracking for days, for weeks at Peek Around the Corner. You know, we had it. And it actually happened, the story. And the Pac-12 got punched, rocketed, and they're still standing. And they may not even know, maybe somebody in that organization does know they got hit in the solar plexus. But I'm having my doubts that they even know it happened. I listened to the Washington State president. I've listened to it all. Even though we weren't doing shows, I was watching to see, was anything going to get picked up? Were there going to be any actions? Were there going to be a pushback? I guess you could call a little bit of a messaging war took on, but that's not the real Cloak and Dagger. So the good news for the Pac-12, whether they know it or not, they got punched hard. Cloak and Dagger style. Cloak and Dagger style. The actors on the stage, I'll get to the bad news because there's bad news. The actors on the stage, what we talked about in our live show Friday night, they appeared. Act 10 is now over. Act 11 hasn't begun yet. Back to the acting metaphors. That's the only way I can describe it. Arizona State was not an actor on the stage in Act 10. Utah was not. Pac-12, yes. George Kliavkoff trying to cobble a deal together, and no, there is no deal out there. Yormark pressing the advantage, pressing the envelope. He was on the stage. Arizona was on the stage, a little bit off to the edge, but they were on the stage. Colorado was in the middle of the stage. Oregon and Washington, we described Act 10 as them being in the front row. I would say Act 11, Oregon and Washington will now be on the edge of the stage. Here's the real bad news for the Pac-12. And it goes beyond, okay, Dennis Dodd's report, it was accurate. I know there was a pushback, but it was accurate. Pac-12 doesn't have a deal right now. A school or two may be losing complete confidence in the Pac-12 to get a deal. But that's not the real bad news. The real bad news, and we've gone to it, we've talked about it before, but it's come bubbling up here since our last live show. The real bad news for the Pac-12 is Oregon and Washington. They are like the Oklahoma and Texas of the Big 12. We talked about it for years at Flug Empire. We did not have a YouTube channel. The money purchase all over the place told us Oklahoma and Texas were leaving their exit ramps open. They were not going to sign an extended Big 12 grant of rights. They weren't going to do the next media contract. They were both either going to call the Big 10 or the SEC. We had the SEC as a slight favorite, and that is exactly what happened. Oregon and Washington are keeping their exit ramps open as long as they possibly can. Why? Is because the Big 10 wants them. I know, I get it. I'm the only one that's saying it out in public consistently. Maybe I'm the only one that is allowed to. The Cloak and Dagger stuff between Oregon and Washington and the Big 10 runs deeper than people think. Fox News, Cloak and Dagger, wanting those schools in the Big 10 runs deeper than anybody believes. Pretty much. Not everybody. Some people know this. But they have to hold back. There are things that I cannot, the hot bubble of action, I cannot go in those details. I have to protect people. But you'll know. You'll get the story. You will know. Some of you already know. Some of you figured it out. But you did not figure it out from me. You did not figure it out on this show. Because I am protecting people. I have to. This is how I have built up my reputation of giving you the best peek around the corner. Because I can harvest the field over and over and over again. So your frustration on the details of the hot bubble action, I get it. I understand it. If I was you, I'd be yelling at the TV. But I will assure you, it happened. The hot bubble of action, it happened. Pac-12 is still standing. Oregon and Washington, I'm going to say this. I got the okay to say this out in the open. The biggest hurdle for Big Ten further expansion soon after the time they took UCLA and USC, there was a couple different reasons. We talked about one of them, Kevin Warren being the biggest hurdle. The Big Ten was not going to expand. They were not going to expand as long as Kevin Warren was in that seat. And that story will be told as well from other people. The Big Ten Conference, their council, their legal department, however you want to put it, is not for further Big Ten expansion at this time. But if there's a crack, if there is a crack in the Pac-12, one more crack, the interest to take Oregon and Washington is there. That's why they're doing the cost-benefit analysis. They're analyzing everything. Big 10, they already don't like me. So I can say this. By the way, now I've heard the Pac-12 don't like me. That's fine. Big 12 didn't like me years ago, and the ACC is going to start not liking this channel in about the first or second quarter in 2024. So we truly are the rebel outposts of college football. The interest is absolutely there. Oregon and Washington, either 3 months down the road or 5 years down the road, Big Ten wants them. I'm going to say this now. Oregon and Washington knows this. And I'm also going to say this now. There are Pac-12 schools who we believe knows this. They believe this. They believe this to be the trajectory of what is coming down the road for more consolidation. So this is in their thinking. This is in their, as they strategize and think, should we move to the Big 12? Let's just take one school for example. We're doing this as a we're pretending. Okay? We're pretending. Some people believe we're pretending all the time on this channel. People still believe that. And that's fine. But I'm going to say, let's just do an example. Let's just take Colorado, for example. Again, we're pretending. We're just call it speculation. Okay? Let's say Colorado's sitting out there and they're happy to still garner interest from the Big 12. Let's say Brett Yormark actually called them up and they've had discussion within the last couple weeks. And so you're sitting there in your Colorado and you're going, well, let's see. We believe that the Pac-12, first of all, we're not getting any deals that look good. ESPN, they're not really on board. Okay, they might take a game. They're paying pennies for it. Fox, they're not really on board. Amazon, Andrew Michon and John Oran, listen to that sports media podcast this morning. If you haven't listened to it, you should. It was all negative. They don't have a deal. Pac-12 doesn't have a deal. Amazon no longer in the game. Yes, all these networks might come back in, but for how much? So Colorado's sitting there and they're going, well, maybe we can stick out for another 5 years with the Pac-12. But you know what? We think Oregon and Washington are going to leave in 5 years. Are we going to be valuable enough? Is the perception of our university, our athletic department, are we going to be in the same spot we are now 5 years from now? Will Big 12 even want us 5 years from now? Now, Colorado fans would say, of course. Many Big 12 fans will probably say, yes, Greg, of course. What's going to happen in 5 years from now? We don't know. Maybe Deion Sanders' experiment is a complete failure. Maybe Colorado goes back to averaging 30,000 in a game. No eyeballs on college sports in the state of Colorado. Maybe, probably, most likely, the ACC implodes in 5 years from now. And the Big 12 starts focusing on some ACC schools as the Big 10 and the SEC eats first in the ACC. The world completely changes in 5 years. And in your at the tip of your brain, Colorado, again, we're just using them as an example. We're just pretending here, guys and gals. We know nothing here at Peek Around the Corner. So what's your decision process then? 5 years from now, do you hold the same value to the Big 12? 5 years from now, as you do now, possibly being the first school to crack? That holds a lot of value to the Big 12. And if you believe in your heart of hearts that Oregon and Washington are going to eventually leave to the Big 10, the Pac-12 is no longer going to be the Pac-12 anymore. There really aren't right now. That is weighing on the minds. We firmly, strongly hold that, we'll call it opinion for now. So let's get back to Washington and Oregon. Greg, come on, you're back to this again. My goodness. Ohio State Buckeyes, they don't want expansion out west right now. University of Iowa doesn't want expansion, again, out west right now. It's not happening right now. How are they going to pay for it? I'm going to show you an article that just came out today, just a little article. Not a whole lot of meat to the bone. But I got to tell you, of everything I've read today, or not today, the last 5 days, this is the most accurate. Let me see if I can find it. Here's an article, SI, Fan Nation, college football headquarter. College football expansion, Pac-12 teams get interest from Big 10 and Big 12. This is written by James Parks 7 hours ago. Where things stand in the latest college football realignment talk as the Pac-12 tries to ink a new media deal to keep teams from leaving for other conferences. Again, it's not much, it's just a lightly written article, but I want to point to something here. So far, the word coming out of the Pac-12 has been the same. No current members have any plans to leave the conference, which seems to have put the recent historic college football realignment and expansion process on hold. It's not on hold. It's just not out in the public. But behind the scenes, it is fast and it's furious. There's a lot of cloak and dagger going on. Back to the article. But with the Pac-12 still courting a new media deal, that solidarity may not be fully guaranteed going forward. Presidents at Arizona State, and Colorado have gone on the record saying that their schools have no plans to depart the Pac-12, especially while the league is hard at work looking for a new deal from potential media partners. But their statements also seem to leave open the possibility that their future membership depends in large part on the kind of contract that the conference can get. It's about the deal. We've been saying that for months. It's about the deal. Pac-12 schools do not want to leave each other. We all understand that. But they've got to get a decent deal. Back to the article, ESPN college football reporter Dusty Dvorak the former Oklahoma Sooner, spoke with Pac-12 football coaches during their recent meeting in Arizona, and all eyes are on what Conference Commissioner George Kliavkoff can get done. These 10 schools want to get a deal done. They want to stay together, but the money's got to be right, and also, of course, the exposure, Dvorak said via KWTV. And with the Big 12 putting together a package that's going to pay each of its schools $31.7 million a year when it kicks in, that's what these Pac-12 presidents expect. Something in the ballpark of $30 million per year for their member institutions. ESPN and Fox have both declined to take part in showing Pac-12 games in the future as primary rights holders, according to most media reports. And that is what we've heard at Peek Around the Corner. We've heard that for months. The offers that were given to the Pac-12, not sustainable offers, not good. Though the other insiders contend that ESPN may still technically be in the mix, leaving the conference with the possibility of making a pitch to other networks and streaming platforms. College Football Insider Pete Thamel also has reported that the Pac-12 could have a deal in place by late this spring or early in the summer. He said that a while ago. Moreover, insiders continue to hint that major Pac-12 members have not completely closed down the lines of communication to rival conferences recently. Well, there's no doubt about that. The lines of communication are open wide, baby. And it's been very, very, very recent. We know Oregon and Washington, they're looking at the Big Ten. The Arizona schools, Colorado and Utah, they're talking with the Big 12, Dvorak said. Everybody's just waiting on with bated breath. Can George Kliavkoff get a deal done? If he can, the Pac-12 is going to stay together. If he can't get a deal done, there's going to be a lot more movement and expansion. That could be great news for the Big 12. If they can't get the deal done, there's going to be a lot more movement. A lot more movement. And Big Ten was mentioned. Oregon and Washington. That was just a light article. But more accurate than anything I've seen out there in the last 5 days. The Big Ten wants to, when the opportunity arises, they want to expand eastward. Of course, they would take Notre Dame. But they're not going to just expand in the east without expanding west of Lincoln. We've talked about it before. We got more information in the last 5 days. The Big Ten expansion door is definitely cracked open. And they're waiting to see what happens with the Big 12 and the Pac-12. And that whole scenario is weighing on the minds of some Pac-12 universities. What's best for them? They move now, or can they wait? Will they have the opportunity to move later? Because either way, Oregon and Washington are gone. Gone. Within 5 years from now. They could be gone within so many months from now. Oregon and Washington are wanted by the Big Ten. And if I'm the only one that's saying it, if I'm the only one that's allowed to say it in public, that's fine. That is fine. But that is what's going on. Because again, the Big Ten, if they go out, and they are going to go out to a 20 team and possibly larger conference, it's not going to be just UCLA and USC on the West Coast. We were told that a couple months before the USC story broke, that they were going to the Big Ten on June 30th. Remember, we had the story on March 31st. We were told that over and over again. And we put it out there. Hardly anybody was paying attention. Ever since then, it's the same message. Fox is for it. So that's it. I mean, and that is what Colorado, Arizona State, if they ever get on that stage, that's what they have to think about. That's what they have to contemplate, because that is serious. I don't know what else to say on that. A lot of people don't believe Peek Around the Corner when we say that. Oregon and Washington are targeted by the Big Ten. The legal counsel says we can't do it now, but if the Big 12 cracks the Pac-12 open, what can I say? I would advise you to stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. Now, let's get to your comments. Let's get to your phone calls. A lot of stories out there. Again, listen to Andrew Michon and John Oran podcast this morning. Big Ten. Breaking news by Brett McMurphy about the Big Ten not having a requirement to have just Power 5 schools on their non-conference schedule going forward. That leaves open the possibility of the Big Ten going to 10 conference games, where they would only have 2 non-conference games. And again, one of those would probably be a non-Power 5 conference. So they're opening, it's a possibility. We've talked about it before. The Big Ten, PJ Fleck, in his own contract with the University of Minnesota, has bonuses established in a traditional 9-game conference, Big Ten football conference schedule. And he also has a 10 conference schedule bonus part of the contract. So he's got both. So people are anticipating, these coaches, agents are anticipating a possibility to move to 10 conference games, which probably follows an expansion, right? And the door is open. So all that is a possibility. Okay, let's get to your comments. I thank you all for coming in. It's been a while. It's been 5 days. 5 days. Kenner Bauman, thanks for coming on in. Daniel Montecastle, Mr. Hoosier. The hot bubble of action, it happened. Josie, thanks for coming on in. Jim Reese, appreciate you. Randy Taylor, Obsidian sharing with my chiropractor. The head on the swivel thing is helping put his kids through college. Freaking Cloak and Dagger, Mr. Monkey says, Tu Masta is in the house. Tough Tony. Go for Tony. Gophers picked up Craig McDonald in the transfer portal. Wild Oot is in the house. Mr. Utah man. There is news. And there will be more coming. It's just the hot bubble of action happened, and I have to protect people. But it happened. For those who say nothing happened, just circle the calendar of, let's say, let's narrow it down to Saturday and Sunday. This past Saturday and Sunday. Circle those 2 days. And then we'll come back to it. Once once someone carries a story, once it breaks, once people can talk about it. Rebecca is in the house. Mrs. Husky. She's in the house. Thanks for coming on in, Becky. Washington president. I heard what he had to say. And I just let it go. I don't know who and what. I don't know what the presidents are being told, what they're being shown inside the Pac-12. You know how this usually works is when you have a media deal, when you're being sent some interesting stuff, some stuff that can work, right? That positive news, that leaks out. And that leaks out in detail. You remember when Brett Yormark said, boy, 2 or 3 weeks from now, we might have a deal with Fox and ESPN. And people blew him off. They didn't think he was actually telling the truth. He was telling the truth. He closed down the deal. We get all these leaks before the Big Ten deal, right? Is it going to be CBS? Is it going to be this? They're in it. John Oran and Andrew Michon's getting all this information. They don't quite know what the deal is, but there's a lot of steam, a lot of positivity. Same with SEC. This is what you get. You build your positivity. You leak some positive information with some details. At least a little bit of detail. Put some meat on the bone. What are we getting? We're not getting any. We're getting they got a couple linear networks. It's all locked up, and now we're just going to go. Now we're just trying to figure out the streaming part of it. We can't even get an idea of what one of the linear networks is going to be. No leaks on that. Doesn't that make you think? If I was a reporter who was being told this, I would say, can you give me one of the names? Can you give me any of the numbers? Instead of just me saying, Dennis Dodd's, his reporting was incorrect. And I find what I find really, now I'm going into a rant. But what I really find interesting is Dennis Dodd comes out with a report and says that ESPN is not going to be the primary rights holder of the Pac-12 media deal. Okay? He says he was told this. And then there's this big pushback on Dennis Dodd. He's spreading lies. He's pushing an agenda. And then just the next day, there's this report saying Pac-12's got their 2 linear networks lined up. That part is done. Working on streaming. If that's the case, then why all the pushback in Dennis Dodd's reporting? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Andrew Michon in his podcast this morning. Man, you know what? I'm going to find what he said here. Hold on. I'm calling an audible at the line of scrimmage. Of course, I probably have to call a timeout here. This is what Andrew Michon said on the Pac-12. They've said a lot of things that have not been true. They've said a lot of things that have not been true. I am not ripping the reporters. Unless I shouldn't say I'm totally not ripping the reporters, because then when they go out and rip at Dennis Dodd, that makes me a little like, come on. Just do your report. He does his report, and we'll see what stands at the end. But Andrew Michon is saying, a lot of what they've said just isn't true. The Pac-12. What they're feeding their reporters just isn't true. So I saw a lot of that stuff in the last 5 days. I got to be honest. Good news for the Pac-12. They're still standing. It is May 10th, and they did get a shot to the solar plexus. So that is, you got to hang your hat on that. No school has applied for Big 12 membership out of the Pac-12. Now that's May 10th. After getting hit in the solar plexus. That's the good news. The bad news is we firmly believe at Peek Around the Corner, we're going to say it loud and clear, I got the okay. Now I've been saying this, hinting at it, but I'm going to pound it into the ground. Washington and Oregon are wanted by the Big Ten. A lot of people in the Big Ten. Eventually. Now that eventually might happen soon because of the economics. They might get them at a big discount because the Big 12 is able to crack the Pac-12. But Washington and Oregon are wanted by the Big Ten. And it's okay to disagree with me. Put it in the comments section. Give us a call at Peek Around the Corner. Ryan Thomas, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. When all is said and done, it will be shown the biggest liar was Kliavkoff, and his incompetence and the league's arrogance were the real downfall. Thank you so much for the super chat, for helping us keep the lights on, Mr. Thomas. I appreciate it. Dan Thomas, Greg, did I hear you say Washington and Oregon and SEC in the same sentence? Well, I didn't mean to say that. Oregon, Washington, Big Ten, eventually. That's what I meant to say. Sometimes I get a little excited in my rants. I misspeak. Cameron, do you have a timeline when things will break? No, I do not. You would have to ask certain presidents of the Pac-12, right? They're the decision makers. I will tell you that some of those schools did get institutional support to do so. And one of those schools that's not on the stage right now, Arizona State, has surprisingly some institutional support to do so. But the Pac-12 president, the athletic director, they might not have the other tangibles right now to be on the stage. Like they don't have the relationship built with the Big 12. They're going to wait to see on Colorado and Arizona. I would not have been surprised at all. And I think I've given enough hints and indications. I would not have been surprised if things would have broken today or yesterday or Monday. I'm not surprised that they didn't break either. But the hot bubble of action, it happened. And there was always a chance it wasn't going to. As we are tracking this event, we were watching it very closely. How do I say this? As we were watching the events, this event happened. We were very fortunate to know a lot of the details. And it happened. And it was a shot to the solar plexus of the Pac-12. When most didn't even know it was occurring. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what the aftermath is. Now, the best news of the Pac-12 would have been if this hot bubble of action did not happen. Like, there was a quick turn away from this event happening. But it did happen. And we know the players of this event. We know the details of this event. It will come out eventually. And we're not going to be part of the story at Peek Around the Corner. And we're going to protect everybody involved. I am just letting you know the Pac-12 got punched. They're still standing. But there are other things that loom in the horizon that doesn't look good for the Pac-12 to exist. Anything like 5 years from now, Pac-12 is not going to be anything like they are today. And we don't even know truly what they are today. Great universities in the Pac-12. Some of them with great value. All of them fantastic universities. But we've been telling you all for weeks, for months, the deal is not there. In every couple weeks, we get this, it's almost there. It looks pretty good. It can work out this way. Da-da-da-da-da. And it's not there. It just isn't. The networks have spoken. The traditional networks that carry college football rather see other stuff happen among those Pac-12 universities. They rather see them go elsewhere. They have spoken. So, no, I don't know. I did read Brock. I read his comments, something to the effect of Pac-12 meetings they were kind of depressing, and the Big 12 was kind of happy. You could feel the momentum. I think he also said that he still felt the Pac-12 was going to get some sort of deal. So I believe that's what he said. Sorry, Coos. I had to do a quick out about the line. Family obligations. I have been so busy, so busy. I mean, if there was a breaking story in the last 5 days, I'm not even sure I could have even covered it. To be honest with you, the little general is off to her home country to visit her family since the first time since the pandemic. And a lot of other things going on. It's been just unbelievable. But we're going to get back on the track here. We're going to be doing episodes every day, multiple ones. Hot bubble of action did happen. It happened in a big way. Great for Trojan. I'm still not understanding this event that took place. And I get that frustration. How do I put it? Just not a whole lot of people know about it. Just like when your USC Trojans called the Big Ten, Grateful Trojan, 99.999% of the reporters had no clue. That's what this was. But it will come out. It's going to come out. So be patient. Be a little bit more patient. This event will come out. And if it doesn't come out in 2 months from now, I will put it out there. I will tell you what I know. Still protecting our sources. But right now, we got to protect the sources and the story. I'm just telling you, we were able to give you a peek around the corner in a way that most people can't here on the YouTube channel. About, we called it the hot bubble of action, and it happened. It happened exactly. It happened. It happened. There was a chance that there could have been a last second pull away from it happening, but no, it did happen. A shot to the solar plexus of the Pac-12. They're surviving so far. May 10th. They have survived the impact, but we'll see how long that lasts. There's a lot of issues in the Pac-12. That's also going to come out. So a lot of distrust, a lot of loss of confidence. What they are hearing is not what they are seeing. Right? You get told stuff. As a president, as an athletic director, The networks are playing a part in this. Marchand, Coos Corner. Marchand said that Amazon is out for the PAC. Craig has mentioned that, opens the door for Big 12 partner with Amazon. That could happen. That very well could happen. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Maybe it has something to do with basketball. Possibly. Right? What is the Big 12 talking about right now in basketball? What's their new thing they're going to do? Lot of Cloak and Dagger out there. So drink up. Drink up. There it is. Drink up. Okay, we're going to open up the phone lines here. A lot of great comments. Again, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You'll get notified of when our next live show, when our next episode comes up, because we can pop up at any time. Subscribe to our show and smash that like button if you like our content. Let's get to the phone lines right now. The number is 763. I got to open it up first. 763-260-1333. Let me know how frustrated you are that the hot bubble of action did happen, and yet I cannot give you the details. Let me know what you think about the reporting of the last 5 days. Do you agree with it? Disagree?
Call from
Wild Ute.
Wild Ute is in the house. Mr. Utah man. What's going on, sir?
What's up, Greg? How you doing?
Good.
Hey, I am not happy with the untouchable Big Ten here.
Yes.
I think it's really, really unfair what they're doing to the PAC.
Got it.
Ticked off actually about nobody's taking shots at the Big. They're just sitting there and they're like a lion that's wounded a gazelle, waiting for the hyenas of the Big 12 to come snatch up the bodies here and waiting. It's just what they're doing. I think it's borderline unethical. Honestly, just waiting till the Pac-12 bleeds out for the Big 12 to take them over. I mean, it really ticks me off just to see that, because Oregon and Washington, they're not going to sign anything when the Big Ten is looming right there. The only thing that's going to provide stability for the Pac is the day that they say, hey, we're not going to take any more schools right now for the next 5 years. Nothing's happening until it happens. So we're going to play this waiting game for many years. The next year, a couple months or whatever. But it just seems really, really unfair how they're just playing that game right now. And I get they have all the leverage. As a Pac fan, it's just like, finish the job if you're going to do it.
I agree with you. I understand your anger, your frustration. Once again, I'm sure the Big Ten is mad at me because they were mad. They don't like me, even though I'm a Gopher. Maybe that's the reason why no one else is saying it. But I got the okay. I said it. I'm going to keep saying it because I want to be as truthful as I possibly can without, there are some things I can go with and some things I can't, and it gets very, very complicated. I can't get to the hot bubble of action. There's no way I can talk about it, but I can talk about the Oregon and Washington thing. There are prime targets for the Big Ten, and it is unfair. It is hurtful to the stability of the Pac-12. It hurts the stability of the Pac-12 Wild Ute if like a Colorado and Arizona believes to be the case. See, if they don't believe Arizona and Washington are still prime targets of the Big Ten, then it doesn't hurt the stability. I just happen to believe they know that.
Well, yeah, I think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
National reporters are reporting that. That's like the worst kept secret ever.
Yeah,
So
they don't go as far as They don't go as far as I just said it today, though.
Like McMurphy was on like 365 Sports and basically said the same thing. Brett McMurphy, like a couple hours ago. So I mean, it's.
Oh, I didn't know he was on a
knows
couple hours ago. Was he on today?
Yeah, he was on today, and I was just listening. It might have been about an hour ago, and he was
Oh,
saying the same
I got to
exact
listen to
thing
that.
you were just saying.
Yeah,
And so
well,
everybody knows it. It's like
okay.
Just take care of this, you know. Like I mean, if the Big's going to take Oregon or Washington,
Let's
do it.
And from the Big Ten perspective, they'll say Wild Oot. It's a legal thing. It's a legal thing.
I would argue that no matter what, it's going to be illegal.
That's okay. All right.
I mean, really,
yeah.
how's it not going to be illegal thing?
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Anyway, I'll let somebody else jump on.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it, sir. Great phone call.
Yeah.
Thank you. I completely look. Come on. I mean, let's be serious here. Great phone call, always by Wild Oot, Mr. Utah man. He's given us his honest
Call from
emotions.
Ryan Martin.
Ryan Martin is on the line. The floor is yours, sir. Go ahead.
How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. Can you hold on 1 second?
I certainly can.
Mark, I can, Mr. Mountaineer, I cannot say your last name. Cloak and a longtime friend of mine, Mark. I apologize. I cannot speak. You know I don't know how to speak. This is the third conference I've watched fall apart. The acceptance that there's no long-term future in the conference is the final phase before schools leave. Thank you, Mark, for your super chat. I appreciate it. I appreciate your generosity, keeping the lights on at this channel. Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you so much, Mr. Mountaineer. Go ahead, Ryan. I apologize there. Go ahead.
Now, I won't ask you to confirm or deny anything. I think a lot of people were speculating that the event that you were talking about is Colorado meeting with Brett Yormark in the Big 12. And I think a lot of people were expecting, that the next time that you were going to be talking that there was going to be breaking news and yada, yada, yada. They're talking about actual realignment moves and stuff like that. And there have been a lot of people who have been kind of like, well, we're waiting. Is this finally the thing that's going to happen? Is the jump finally going to happen? And it hasn't materialized as of yet. I think something that a lot of people want to kind of keep in the back of their minds is that just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Now, what do I mean by this? Just because it hasn't happened out in the open doesn't mean things aren't working behind the scenes to make it happen. That that an agreement hasn't been made, and that at an appointed date and hour, an announcement will finally be made, and the dam will finally break. Or we'll finally figure out that the dam broke about 10 days ago, and all the water comes rushing in to flood the town, and everybody dies. That's a bad joke on my part, probably, but you get my metaphor. I really think that the reason why there's a bunch of silence right now is because there's so many eyes on it. And nobody really wants to be the guy to pull the trigger. But somebody's eventually going to have to be the one. And I think I do legitimately think that Colorado is going to be it. I think somebody's finally going to be like, screw it. There's no long-term future, and like the super chat you just mentioned, that it's accepting that's kind of like the final phase before people start moving. And I don't know, man. I'll be interested to see how the rest of this all plays out. But near term, long term, it's gonna be weird to see what this is, because I don't think it's going to end in a way that everybody expects it to. Because there are 15,000 different ways that this could end.
Yes.
And
yes.
Because for all we know, Oregon and Washington could end up in the Big 12. They could say, here's the near-term move we need to make to ensure that when the time does come for the Big Ten to say, hey, we're ready for you, that we're positioned and we're ready to do it, that we haven't wasted 5 years on streaming services just withering on the vine. That at some point, some amount of deal fatigue, some amount of just exhaustion with the tension that has been mounting for months and months and months is going to snap and break. And that's when everything is going to come out. You know, one thing I thought was really interesting that McMurphy talked about, because
am I the only person on the planet who didn't know that McMurphy was on 365 today?
I guess, man, I don't know, but
what did he say? Okay, I need a rundown on what he said.
Well, he kind of hit on a number of different points, but the key thing that he kind of brought up was the same thing you did about that. They have like a legal problem with it. That's kind of what they're waiting on, but that the Big Ten are interested in Oregon and Washington. So,
okay, all right. Well, he doesn't need me to say this, but he's absolutely correct. I had no idea he said that. I got to watch this show. He kind of stole my thunder then.
Maybe, I don't know.
Huh?
But
yeah. Well, this is okay. This, I know this has been known for a while. I mean, this is known. Again, it's one of those things where I gotta. I keep saying Oregon and Washington, Big Ten is interested in them. This has been known. Yeah. McMurphy, well, go ahead. Yeah, I would consider Brett McMurphy absolutely 100% correct if what you're telling me he said is. No, I haven't watched it, so I got to be careful what I say. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I think some of the other interesting points there too is just that kind of like you said, the insinuation there is that nobody wants to be the one to pull the trigger. But somebody has to make the move that causes all the other moves to happen. It's like we're in one giant Mexican standoff at the moment, and it's not going to work out in anybody's favor until somebody does something to make it happen. So it'll be interesting to see what finally does end up happening. But one thing that I would stress to people is if you're not hearing anything right now, there's probably a very, very good reason why that's happening. That in all possibility that some schools may have committed themselves to other conferences, but they're waiting for the right time to make the announcement. That they want to see whatever different levels of variables through before they finally make a commitment and a decision to say, like, we have a drop dead date to say this is happening, so that way all of the rest of the dominoes can move. But if you've got a little bit of time and you're working other angles, I mean, it definitely works out better from a media perspective and Brett Yormark's a media savvy guy. He's going to try and milk this for all it's worth. And to kind of get it all together and get it all laid out and make one big announcement, that's going to be the way that he's going to go about and do this. He's going to do this, like, look at everything that he has done for all of the big stuff that he's announced. It has been wall-to-wall coverage, multiple days of all of this stuff that he's announced as initiatives as the new commissioner. And it makes sense that he would want to make a meal of this too. So
okay,
that's that's the primary thought I want to leave everybody with tonight. And I'll hop off here in a second just to say that just because we aren't hearing anything doesn't mean things haven't happened yet.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Great
You
call.
have a good one, sir.
Thank you. Okay, Larry says, Greg, he said the same stuff we've been talking about for months. I don't know if Larry's talking about Brett McMurphy or myself or whoever, but I want to make something. I'm gonna finish my thought here. Whoops.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, can you just hold on for a second?
Yes, sir, Mr. Flugar.
Okay, I apologize. I might have just hung up on somebody and went to Ryan Thomas. But anyways, call back if I accidentally hung up on you. Larry, if you, and I'm not sure what Larry, I'm not sure if Larry is, I'm not sure what part of it he's talking about here, but people might say, well, yes, Greg, of course Big Ten's interested in Oregon and Washington. Nothing is being said here differently. Look, there's a lot of people out there. There's a whole lot of people out there saying that the Big Ten has never been interested in Oregon. And I keep saying, yes, they are. There's a whole bunch of people out there that's saying Washington and Oregon is not, only Kevin Warren was interested in Oregon and Washington. There's a lot of people out there that's saying the Big Ten isn't going to expand at any more out west, ever. And then there's people out saying, well, the next move is definitely going to be Notre Dame, Florida State, whatever. There's a whole group, heck, more than half the internet is saying that. So, I've been saying the whole time, Larry, from day one, before people knew that USC was moving to the Big Ten, we knew that the Big Ten had designs, they wanted, they targeted, they're going to do all they can eventually at some point to get Washington and Oregon. And there were hurdles. There were hurdles there was the council, the legal council of the Big Ten. There was Kevin Warren himself. Fox didn't want any more expansion with him in the seat. And we've talked about this at Peek Around the Corner. We gave you the best peek we possibly could get without destroying our sources or the story. So not everybody is knows the same stuff because they've been saying the opposite. I just wanted to point that out. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Who's on the line again? Thomas?
It's Ryan, Greg.
Who?
Yes, sir.
Got it. Go ahead. The floor is yours. I apologize.
No problem. I mean, if you could sing us that song, Turn Out the Lights, the party's over.
Well, I could sing it. I could sing it. It just won't be on. It just won't be in tune. But I could sing it. But go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. You can sing it later on when if the calls dry up. So, but I think it's important to point out Arizona and ASU have the same board of regents. So if Arizona got the go-ahead, their institutional support to make the move, it's likely that ASU has that should Michael Crow want to pull the trigger. I think that the interesting thing is I think that the Big Ten is waiting for that, for legal reasons, but also if Colorado and Arizona bail, backfilling with San Diego State and SMU is only going to devalue any potential TV deal even further. And it puts it into a whole new round of negotiations, and time is not on the Pac-12 side. I think that the interesting thing is that the Big Ten will have Oregon and Washington in the position to get them at the discount they want and on the terms they want. And I think Duck and Husky fans will be more than happy to take that. It's sort of interesting in looking at it. The Pac-12, like I mentioned before, doesn't have a research consortium. The only thing you have is the Pac-12 Academic Leadership Coalition, which is basically a peer review group, but they don't apply for projects together. There isn't a pool of research money, and it exists. It was formed in 2015, and you don't have to be a member of the Pac-12 to be part of this council. So members of the conference get automatic membership in this coalition. But, you know, if 2/3 of the coalition welcomes in other members from outside the conference, they can do so, and there's no provision to kick someone out. So, you know, the real issue here, what's been happening, according to some people in the tech industry I've talked with before in work, is apparently I think Stanford's been holding research collaboration over the heads of some of these Pac-12 members as sort of as a card to keep themselves from getting left behind. And, you know, you can look at the money. ASU does a lot of work with Stanford, and Utah does as well. And, you know, whereas Colorado and Arizona have worked a lot with USC and UCLA, and they're going. So, you know, you could take that for what it's worth. But, you know, I think it's interesting to note that this is just, like I said, I mean, the Pac-12 has faced a dilemma of, do we want our best game on Amazon? And Amazon's not going to do a deal without that. So they likely said, we're not interested. If you change your mind, we'll listen again. And it's likely, according to Marchand this morning on his podcast, that the Pac-12 was also asking too much from Amazon. So you look at this, you know, you got it. There's a line from Dirty, if you've seen the Dirty Harry movies, Greg, you know, there's a line, there's a great line that I can't remember which movie it was. It might have been Magnum Force, but, you know, the dirty police chief, you know, walking away, and, you know, Clint Eastwood says to him, you know, a good man's got to know his limitations. And, you know, the Pac-12 did not learn its limitations. And that's all I got.
Got it.
I hope everybody enjoys your crow. I like Memphis smoky barbecue sauce and Rendezvous's rub, so I'll put that on the crow that I'm serving up to everybody. Take care.
All right, thanks. Great phone call. Whoa, someone dropped. Call again. Someone dropped off the line. But remember this, everybody. Remember this. Pac-12, according to PATC, got a shot in the solar plexus sometime a few days ago, and they are still standing. Remember that good news. That's part of this show as well. They're still standing. No school in the Pac-12 has applied to the Pac-12. As we know here, peek around the corner, we're sitting here May 10th. But the hot bubble of action did happen.
Call from
Mo Vision.
Mo and Vision. I'm sorry. Did I hang up on you or?
No, that wasn't me, Greg.
Okay. All righty. Okay. The floor is yours, good sir.
All right. You touched on it briefly, but I think the biggest news of this week is the Big Ten potentially dropping the clause to require out-of-conference P5 and that seems to me to be another shot across the bow of Notre Dame.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What was that?
I said that appears to me to be another shot across the bow of Notre Dame.
Okay, yep. Got it.
In addition, by not scheduling P5s, which means home and home series, you potentially add an additional home game for all your teams consistently every year, which adds more TV games for the media players. But ultimately, I think you're right. I think Mr. Fleck will be getting a raise in his paycheck because this is all the big going to attend game conference game. We will have two G5 opponents that will play the teams at home, and we will move to 10 conference games. And unfortunately, I think Notre Dame is going to have to jump on board or get out of the way, because I think the Big Ten is going to make USC at least give notice to Notre Dame that you might not be on our schedule every year. We might just stick with 2P2s, because the fact is Notre Dame needs USC more than USC needs Notre Dame. Notre Dame just joined a conference with 4 other college football blue bloods.
Yeah. I agree. Yep.
Very easily, Ohio State can become a permanent rival of USC every year.
Yeah.
Very easily, Michigan.
Yeah.
Very easily, Penn State.
Yep. Yep. The leverage is USC. USC now has that leverage in that series. Definitely.
Absolutely. But yeah, on Washington and Oregon, yes, I think that's correct. And I understand Will Dute's point, but Will Dute has to understand that's capitalism. That's the nature of the business. Buy low, sell high. And if sitting on the sidelines waiting for the Big 12 to coach somebody so they can buy low, get maximum value out of it for their existing institution, that's exactly what the Big Ten's going to do. In addition, adding Washington and Oregon, the move to remove that P5 clause, it's all just tightening the noose around Notre Dame.
Yeah.
It's pushing them. And we know from your reporting about the Florida State money purge, when Notre Dame goes, the ACC goes. So, Cloak and Dagger, Greg, Cloak and Dagger.
There's a lot of Cloak and Dagger. The cloak is working because a lot of people in the chat do not understand what the heck I'm talking about when it comes to the hot bubble of action. And I understand their frustration. I understand their angst against me. And I get all that. Just remember, just remember the dates that I've told you this last weekend. Remember that we had talked about it a couple weeks ago and that we were following it. We tracked it and it happened. That's the best way I can say it. I cannot hurt the story. I cannot hurt my sources. But this isn't something that's going to stay buried. So it's going to come out. And then we can really open up and talk about it because I have details that other people are not going to have on it. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. This is not a tease. This is real. It happened. There's a few other people out there in the media who knows that it happened. And we're waiting for the aftermath of it. So that's the best I can say. And to get to your point. What? I'm sorry.
Those who need to know. Those who don't need to know sometimes know also. But
yeah.
I'll get off here, Greg.
Okay.
Let somebody else join on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No future big expansion about
Yeah, great call once again from Mr. Buckeye Moen Vision. Again, getting back to the point of the walls are tightening on Notre Dame. We talked about it in episode 1 of this channel back in 2022 in August. The media deal?
Call from
Eric.
Eric, can you hold 1 second, please?
Absolutely, no problem.
The media deal that the Notre Dame's trying to get, man, I don't see it. I don't see it. We talked about it here at Peek Around the Corner. It's hard to be a standalone product and to garner that much value out of the media companies because you don't offer the depth of content like a tier 1 bundled in the SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, where you bundle your tier 1 where a media company can pick through the plethora of your games, your slated games every single week to make sure that they get the best value possible out of your conference schedule. Notre Dame doesn't give that to their potential media company, their media partner. They can't offer that. And then it's the same thing when we talk about tier 3 content. It's more valued when it's bundled together. The Longhorn Network was a failure. Eyeballs didn't watch it. They did not have enough live content for the advertisers. They didn't have enough live content for the consumers of Longhorn sports. So, and I'm not gonna tell you what YouTube channel. I'm not gonna bash on them, but they keep talking about how the Pac-12 needs to sell their third tier locally. No, that you can't do that. You can't separate that. It's more valued when you bundle it together. I don't know. Some people are not learning what's happening. They don't learn the failures from others. And Notre Dame, the walls are closing in on them. They're not going to be able to do what the super conferences are going to be able to do in regards to bundling their data to sell to consortiums, sports books. They're not going to be able to do that, not to the price that the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC will be able to do. Go ahead, Eric. The floor is yours. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, no problem. First, me and my wife, Rolenta, a little general, just want to say Godspeed and a safe trip to your wife while she's in Mexico. Yes,
thank you so very much. She's there right now.
She's more out our way here. We're on the Nevada-Arizona border, so she's more out by us right now.
Yeah, she is.
I had a few questions and just some thoughts. Here's my take as I interpret your hot bubble of action, and I could be wrong, and I'm not asking you. I want to emphasize I'm not asking you to confirm what my interpretation is. I'm just letting you know what I think the interpretation is. What I'm getting from what you're saying is you can't go on to Act 11. You said we're on to Act 11 now. You can't go on to 11 until 10 is complete. So to me, 10's been
10 is complete. And now we're in intermission. and we'll see who gets on the stage for Act 11. But Act 10 went the way that we thought it was going to go weeks ago. And it's one of those things that it actually happened the way we were anticipating. It actually happened. So now we're intermission. People are getting their popcorn. Act 11 probably... We'll see. We got to reset ourselves here. But go ahead.
So the way I interpret that, Act 10 was pretty much Colorado and a little bit Arizona. So we would still be on Act 10 if Colorado hasn't somewhat been resolved. So my opinion on this interpretation is Colorado has decided to go to the Big 12. They may not have officially signed anything. They're in the admission. They still got to dot the T's and the I's, come to the final agreement, announce that they're leaving, all that kind of stuff. But my interpretation of that is Colorado is gone. Arizona may be soon to follow. Probably that'd be part of Act 11. But I just don't see how Act 10 could be complete and go the way you expected when it was an 8.5-point favorite if the Colorado thing is still in limbo. So my interpretation of Act 10 is Colorado is gone. That's my interpretation.
Well, no. As far as we know at Peek Around the Corner, no Pac-12 team has asked for a Big 12 application as of May 10th, 6:29 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah,
so that has not happened. Not in secret.
filled out the application, but usually you know you have the job before you fill it out. So I think they're,
Okay, but I just want to be clear because a lot of people.
Yeah, all I'm saying is I think a decision is being made, and most really good jobs I got where people knew me, knew what I could bring to the table, the application was a formality. It was the relationships that mattered in the interview. So I think you're probably right. They haven't asked for the application, but they know that the application is going to be accepted.
Act 10 is over, Random Tease. I just got a question. We believe Act 10 is over. We'll see who gets on the stage for Act 11. Go ahead, Eric.
I think Act 11 sounds like it's Colorado, but what I just don't see how they know if Oregon and Washington is leaving. I don't see how it would literally be malfeasance on their part, not even doing due diligence to their schools and stuff for their schools to stay if they know that. So I just absolutely don't see how they could stay. But here's a problem I have. One thing I wanted to comment. You said in the article, the guy said for the Pac-12 to stay together, they've got to get a deal done. I would disagree with him just a little bit. They can't just get any deal done. They've got to thread the needle. They've got to thread the needle, and they got to get the right deal done. They've got to get a deal that pays enough, but has enough linear content. And if they don't do that, they're still going to lose teams even if they get a deal. And what I mean by that is, let's say they get a deal where the main Tier 1 rights, or let's just pretend Tier 1 rights are with, let's say, Apple, okay? Let's say ESPN comes back in for the $90 million everyone's been talking about for Tier 2 rights to do one game a week. Well, you hear a lot of people saying, well, yeah, and Washington and Oregon's going to want to be on ESPN every week and stuff. But the problem with that is, if you're paying for Tier 1 rights, you're not going to give up your Tier 1 teams and your best games to someone who's paying for Tier 2 rights. That's number one, so Apple would never agree to that. And then the other problem you have is the other schools aren't going to be happy with Washington and Oregon being on ESPN every week and them being relegated to Apple. So I just don't see how that would ever work, and that's why I kind of come to that conclusion. Do you kind of agree with that analysis, or? I mean, Apple's not going to pay for Tier 1 and then let ESPN pick the plum games, right?
I agree. I agree with that analysis. Yes, I don't see a deal for the Pac-12. I don't know how a deal comes together right now, and I'm not the only one saying that. So
I'm hearing a lot of people say, "Well, Oregon and ESPN could still play on ESPN every week." They're not. Apple's not going to give up Oregon and Washington.
No, that's not going to happen. No, that's not going to work. Yeah, I agree.
And then the next thing, and just a kind of a fun note, were you able ever to figure out which live episode it was that you sang the Gordon Lightfoot song?
Sundown? No, I don't. If anybody in the chat can figure out what live show that I sang Gordon Lightfoot Sundown, let us know in the chat. I did look, but it's. I have no idea what month. I can't remember what it was.
I believe that's one of the best lyrically. I'm not saying overall, but just lyrics-wise, lyrically, I think that's one of the best lyrically written songs. The phrasing in that song is unreal. I just love that. I'm not a fan of all these songs, but I really love that particular that particular song. So I was just wondering, I can hunt for it too, but if anybody knows. And then one question I have for you, let's say Oregon and Washington decided that they want to leave in 5 months or whatever, not 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. What would they have to be out of the big Pac-12 by to make it work, not for this football season, of course, but say the following season?
Well, the contract, the Pac-12's current media contract ends July 1st of 2024. I think their grant of rights ends on a different date, which is weird, but I believe that's true. I believe that ends August 1st of 2024. So that's the only way I can answer that question. I don't know.
How much time do you think the Big Ten would need to work them into a future scheduling, not for this season, but next
Well,
season.
that's a huge undertaking. That's a hurdle. I think they could probably do it. This isn't going to go till the end of the summer. Well, we don't think it is. From what we are hearing, this isn't going to be like Pac-12 schools are still waiting to get a media deal in front of them on July 24th. That just isn't going to happen. There's way too much. There's so much going on right now.
Are you still at 8.5 for a team leaving the Pac-12 on your odds?
You know what? I'm going to bring it down to 6.5. That's that's still a big favorite. The reason why I'm bringing it down to 6.5 because the hot bubble of action definitely happened, and the Pac-12 is still standing here on May 10th. Now that doesn't, 6.5 point favorite is still right, still a big favorite, but I have to bring it down a couple points because the Pac-12 is still standing as of tonight, and that's the good news because we weren't sure I could say that last Friday night. So.
And a couple last questions. One, do the P5 teams get an automatic bid to the new conference championship? And if so, and the Pac-12 loses a bunch of teams, could they lose their P5 status and their automatic bid status if they're a bunch of no-name schools? They replace them with.
I didn't understand your first question.
First question is, with the college playoff, does the P5 get a guaranteed bid for the conference champions?
No. The top 6 rated conference champions in the 10 FBS conferences get an automatic berth.
Do you think that the Pac-12, let's say they lose 3 or 4 schools or 2 or 3 schools and they replace them with some schools that maybe aren't as strong, are they in danger of losing their P5?
Maybe, but I think they're also, the college football playoff committee, the manager committee, whatever you want to call them, there's 5 Power 5 conferences. We saw Mike Oresco, the commissioner of the AAC, talk about how he doesn't like those labels, and I put out a tweet saying basically we at Peek Around the Corner are going to keep calling those 5 conferences, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, the Big 10, the Pac-12. We're going to call them Power 5s because they're paid that way in the playoff distribution. The money, how they're going to distribute that money, they get paid differently than the 5 other conferences. So that's why we're going to keep calling those 5 conferences Power 5. Whether the Pac-12 keeps their Power 5 designation, if they implode, I don't know. I would guess at this point, yes, for 2 years, but I don't know. That's too many steps in front of me.
You hear people all the time saying, well, the 4 G5 schools are starting in the Big 12 next year. BYU has never been a member of the G5. They're not a member of the G5 now. They've never been a member of the G5. They were never eligible to be the playoff representative for the G5. They never got a share of the G5 playoff money. They're like Notre Dame. They didn't have the exception to the playoff Notre Dame had that I wish they would have had, but they've never been part of the G5. But you hear that repeated all the time. The 4 G5 schools are coming. BYU is recognized by 4 of the P5 schools as counting as one of their P5 games when they played out of conference. They were recognized as a P5 school by the SEC, the Big 10, and I believe the ACC. And they've never been a member of the G5. So that kind of confusing. But the one last question I have, and I'll get off.
Okay, last question. We got to get the other callers here.
One last question, real quick. Let's say I'm a TV executive, and the Pac-12. Oregon, from what you're saying, Oregon and Washington know now that they're going to go to the Big 10. It's just a matter of not if, but when. So
if you want to believe PATC, yes.
So I believe that. So let's say that's the case. Now, so they want a really, really weak grant of rights. Let's say they want a really weak grant of rights. If you're a TV executive and you're going to pay decent money, you want a solid grant of rights. If people won't sign the grant of rights, or they sign a super paper thin one, you're not going to pay as much money, right? Because you're not protected.
Yeah. True.
That's right. So we're in agreement on that. And hey, you have a blessed day.
Thank
and
you.
Don't miss the little general too much, okay?
I'm already missing her, but thank you.
Boy, I
Appreciate
know how that feels.
Thank you.
You have a good day, and thanks for the show.
Thank you very much. All right, fantastic call. Thanks, Eric. Jason says, Ole Miss athletic director says the SEC has discussed expanding. They will ask the ACC soon. I don't think it's going to be soon because the grant of rights and someone's going to have to challenge it and get a settlement or win it in court, so it's not going to be soon. However, again, and I'll go back to this, and I'm going to keep going back to this. There are certain certain Pac-12 schools that when they're evaluating what their next move is going to be, whether to stick or go in the Pac-12, one of the considerations is what do they believe is going to happen with Washington, Oregon, but also what they believe is going to happen in ACC country 5 years from now. After that, the new media contract that the Pac-12 is going to get, if they're going to get it, right? It's going to go from 2024 to, let's say, 2029. You're right in there with the ACC schools possibly imploding. Now, that might happen earlier, but it probably ain't going to happen later than 2029, 2030. SEC is going to eat. They might eat first. Big Ten probably will eat second. But then there's going to be a bludgeon ACC, but there's still going to be schools, just like there are in the Pac-12. There's going to be schools out there that are going to be of value to the Big 12. So then you have a decision. There's going to be more competition there for Colorado, more competition there for an Arizona. That there's going to be some schools that might be looking to sit at the table, the Big 12 table, in 2029, 2030. That could happen. All that is playing into all this. And so that's squeezing the Pac-12. And again, that Oregon-Washington situation, it is real. I don't think there's one issue that I've ever been raked over the coals more than the Washington-Oregon issue. I think for all the things that I have been just bludgeoned on over the years, it's for whatever reason. A lot of Big Ten people not happy with me. A lot of Pac-12 people not happy with me. We've been reporting that. And again, we were told that. We were told that before the country woke up on June 30th. And found out that USC was going to the Big Ten. We were told a month, 2 months constantly prior to that. When we knew there was stuff going on with USC and the Big Ten, we were told this. We all know that Big Ten has interest in the East. SEC is going to expand. The economics of it is going to happen, more consolidation. But the Big Ten's not going to go just primarily east to fill out their composition for the next generation of Big Ten sports. They're going to go west again, and it's Washington and Oregon, and there it is. And if you don't think that's playing on the minds. Did you say Colorado was already supposed to be in the Big 12? Nope. Let me know where I said that. Check it out. Let me know where I said that.
Western Civic to collect.
Western Civic is here to collect. Look out. What's going on, good sir? The floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Just thought I'd chime in and look. There's some big football games coming up this year, Greg, and
Yes.
I think you and I ought to make a deal.
Yes.
I'm going down a list here. There's Florida, Utah to start the season. Utah's going down to USC. That's definitely on the list. You got Oregon going to Utah. That's on my list. Anyway, I'm thinking some of these games, they don't have to be great tickets, Greg. But, I don't have season tickets, and I'm going to need tickets to all these games, a pair. And I'm thinking, every time that you guys come on and have your Big Lubbock delusion session and nothing happens, that's another game you got to buy.
Wait. Hold on. You said nothing happened. You said nothing happened.
Well, no, wait a minute. Let's go back.
Something did happen. So.
Well, you did them about call. Look, everything that's gone on here is still in line with the full memo we got last August. Everything is still in line. It's just what you're saying. Yeah, the PAC is eventually going to get eaten up by the big. When is that going to happen? We don't know. But this notion that people are going to the Big 12 and that's going to start some chain reaction is just madness. I mean, it's like, it really is like a QAnon thing at this point. Arrests in the four corners are imminent. Oh, my goodness. It's just not. And so anyway, I want to cash in on this. I'm still taking all bets on Colorado to the Big Lubbock Conference. Anybody wants to bet me on that? I'm taking all bets on that. Now, that has to be where they jump first. Yeah. I still think they're going to take 6. Next time the Big goes west, it isn't just going to be Oregon and Washington. There's going to be more than that. And I think one of the big decisions that needs to be made is, what does California and Stanford want to do with football? This is a question they've had on their minds for a long, long time. Cal hasn't made money on football in a long time. Stanford could, and they could if they wanted to make a point of it. They've got a lot of other things going on. So anyway, nothing's changed. Everybody wants to come on. I don't know why. I mean, someone has taken this BLD to the bank. I mean, how many YouTube videos, how many YouTube channels are just taking the Big Lubbock delusion to the bank right now? I mean, they're based on little to nothing else. But hey, Arizona's going to the Big 12 next week. Oh, really? How many viewers are you going to get? Some. So this is what I'm saying, Greg. Yeah. I don't think you owe me any tickets yet. But when Colorado doesn't go on May 18th, I think you do owe me a pair of tickets. But that's just, you didn't agree, so I'm just saying. I'm just saying they can be cheap seats, but I want to get a thing going for every episode where someone makes something about the PAC jumping to the Big. Okay. Someone owes me a pair of tickets when it doesn't happen, because I'm just, anyway, that's all. And then another thing, Greg, feel free to, you can, jump in and you can shut me up whenever I'm running my mouth here. But the only other thing is I'm pretty bummed out about the playoff thing that they have going. Joel Klatt has a good take, I think, on it. And, hi, how you doing? Yeah, we're doing, hold on a second. I'm on a phone call. I'm on a phone call. Can I, hold on. All right. Okay, we're fine. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. You think you have a little privacy? My forgiveness. Excuse me, my apologies. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So, look, this system they got, if you're going to win a national title on this 12-game thing they got, you're going to have to play 17 games. That's nuts. And I'm all for conference champions getting berths and stuff like that, although, one conference does not equal another in today's world, and we know that. So we do need the three major conferences. I think that's where it will go, and I think the playoff flexibility model that we have in the full memo, I think, really answers a lot of the problems that Klatt raised. And anyway, we need that annual playoff flexibility. But the first pair of tickets I'm going to want is that opening game, Florida at Utah, Greg. Keep it in mind. Is that fair? And what would you want from me?
I'm not going to gamble. I'm not going to gamble, first of all. I'm not, I see your comments on our YouTube channels. I appreciate your comments. But yeah, I'm not going to take it. I will. I just want you to do me a favor.
Sure.
Okay? Go to your calendar, do it on the phone or one that's hanging up on your wall, and circle May 6th and May 7th. Just circle that with maybe a little more emphasis on the 7th. Circle that, and we'll talk about that day later, okay? Weeks down the road.
So, I mean, people are... Here's one question I have for you, Greg.
Yeah.
I like the way you have this set up in acts.
Yes.
Because the way I see it, really this was sort of already kind of largely scripted. So where are you getting your script?
Where am I? I don't understand the question.
Well, you've got it broken down into acts,
yes.
Right? Act 1, Act 2, Act...
I don't know what Act 11 is going to be. Not yet. I got to figure out what the aftermath of Act 10 is. But I know what Act 10 was, and I'll put it out in all its glory when I can do it. But there was an Act 10, and it was pretty impactful, even though we haven't seen the results of it yet. That's what I'm telling you. Please circle.
Well,
yeah.
Well, what was it? Was it the final decision about which teams they're going to take out of the pack and which ones they're not?
No, that wasn't it. No.
Well, then what? It was like telling them that some part of the media deal isn't going to happen.
No, that wasn't it.
Well, I'll tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't Arizona and Colorado are jumping to the Big 12. I promise you it wasn't that.
Got it. Okay.
That's what I want my pair of tickets for.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Next time, Greg. I'm just trying to collect and get some easy money because this has just been going on and on and on and on and on.
Sure.
I mean, I'm starting to get worried.
Do you know why is it going on and on and on? Why?
Well,
why?
I think it's probably at some point. I think it's part of a Big 12 strategy. I think
no. That's not why it's going on and on and on. The reason why it's going on and on and on is because the Pac-12 can't get a decent deal. They want to stick together. If they could have signed a deal by now, they would have. That's the story. The networks have spoken. So, Western Civic, listen. You and others keep thinking about the PAC of the past. The PAC of the past is gone. Even though there's still valuable... Hold on. Even though there's still valuable schools out there with a lot of value, especially for the conferences, the PAC as we know it is gone. They can't get an immediate deal worth a hot bucket of bleep. That's why this is still going on. And the people that have been telling you this for months, Western Civic, your humble host included, we've been telling you the truth. I've been giving you the truth. I haven't been giving you this BS about, oh, wow, the Pac-12, they're about to get a deal done. They're getting $32 million. They're getting $28 million per school. No, I've told you from day one, they've got nothing. Nothing's been set in front of them. And they're hot and bothered about it. The boosters are pissed about it. People are nervous about it. They don't want to get buried in a media contract that has no visibility. That's why this thing keeps going on and on. It ain't me. I'm not the straw that's stirring the drink.
No, I know that.
Got it. So I'm not getting the script. I'm not getting
No, but
got it.
Okay, Greg, but everything you just said, those are the points that have been repeated ad nauseum for months and months and months. Yes. And I think there is a little bit of Big 12 strategy in that, and maybe they can pick. Maybe there's an off chance.
Well, of course there is. Of course there is. Yes.
Okay, but and so I do think there's money behind it.
Absolutely,
there's money behind saying all these
absolutely,
things.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A lot of cloak and
Okay.
dagger, my friend. A lot of cloak
Yeah,
and
and
dagger.
what did I tell you last time I called? I said the Pac-12. Of course, the Pac-12 is done. Without the LA schools, it's not the Pac.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a great season of football this year, though. Woo! The Pac is gonna be lit this year. But whatever comes next, it's not gonna be the Pac. That's what I said last time I called. No matter what, I mean, without the LA schools, I mean that was the center. That's where we always fought about. And one of those games I'm gonna want tickets to is that Utah USC game.
Got it.
Keep it up over there.
Okay, I got other callers.
All
So
right, man.
Thank you,
Playoff
sir.
Flexibility, no war.
no war. Got it. Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Opie, thank you so much for your huge super chat donation. Holy smokes. Your generosity has no I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. You're helping us keep the lights, the camera, action. I believe Amazon will flip the bill for Oregon, Washington, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, going to the Big 10 and Big 12. Holy smokes. And the SEC loves you, Greg. SEC doesn't love me. Nobody loves me. It's just that the SEC doesn't know me. That's why they don't like. Everybody who knows me don't like me. That's the key point here. When it comes to these conferences, the people in them, we know the Big Ten followed me for months. That has been proven, documented. Media companies, newspapers, or I'm going to say media companies, they know that to be true. Big Ten did not like me. Pac-12 now doesn't like me. I know that to be true. I've been getting shots, unveiled shots. I got it. Okay, understood. For many years, I said it like it was with the Big 12. It was a horse and buggy conference. The way it was set up, it wasn't going to survive. It wasn't going to keep Texas and Oklahoma. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Bob Bowlesby made the right move. Got the support from the media companies. The Pac-12 were like feet of clay. And then Yormark has been spectacular since he's become commissioner. I'm not liked by anybody. SEC doesn't love me because they don't know me. Once they learn about me, they'll dislike me as well. Thank you so much, Opie, for your incredible, generous donation. I appreciate it. Thank you for everybody coming in. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so. We've been covering this story and everything else through college football. Everything. We covered all. Spring football. In the next couple of days, we're going to be going through Las Vegas sports books. They've come out with their over-under win totals for the season. Greg the Cooler from last year is going to be Greg the Heater. The Gophers are 6.5. Ooh, that's a tight line. That's a good line put out there. The last few years, the Gophers over-under line was 7.5 wins. This year's 6.5. I had the Gophers at 5-7, but I got uplifted watching that spring football game. Now I got the Gophers at 6-6. I can't touch that one, but we're going to be going through the SEC, the Big Ten, all the conferences, over-under win totals. So we're going to be going through a lot of things here in college football. I appreciate you all coming in. The MAC love. MAC, I graduated from a MAC school. Great news for the MAC conference. When the Big Ten decided that they're not going to have a requirement for Big Ten schools not to play G5 schools in their non-conference games, that's great news for the PAC schools and the PAC conference. I appreciate it. We're going to shut it down for the night. We're shutting it down for the night. Here's the thing. We were off for 5 days. We were incredibly busy here in the home front. The hot bubble of action happened. We will have details like nobody else once the story can be explained. We gave you the first peek around the corner to it weeks ago. And the Pac-12 got a shot to the solar plexus. It got a shot, even if they don't know it. They got hit hard, but they are still standing as of right now. According to what we know here, peek around the corner, no Pac-12 school has asked for an application into the Big 12 conference. But there are other bad news on the horizon. Oregon and Washington, they're wanted by the Big 10. And it's going to happen now or later. We firmly believe this to be the case. I would not put that out there if I really believed that, if we didn't have real good information on that. We had it back before June 30th of 2022. We said it on our Twitter account at Flag Empire. We said it on June 30th, July 1st. They were targeted, but they couldn't get it done. For many reasons, we've been over it. And they might not be able to get it done until 5 years from now. But Washington and Oregon, they're going to keep swinging away. Watch our episode 52 if you haven't watched it. Oregon money perch. They said they were going to keep swinging away. They knew Washington was going to keep swinging away. They were told things in those meetings in New York City and in Chicago when they met with the Big Ten, those preliminary meetings. They were told, they have the confidence that they're eventually going to get there. And Pac-12 schools, they all know that the California plan, remember, was released by Rich Lieb on December 14th when the California Board of Regents made the decision, the calimony tax for UCLA to move to the Big Ten. Richard Lieb said out in the open, California wanted to put pressure on the Big Ten to include Stanford, Washington, Oregon, and California. Those Pac-12 schools knew that happened. When Rich Lieb said in the open, Arizona schools got pissed. Colorado's sitting there, they're evaluating, when is it best for us to leave this conference? That's what it's come down to. Hanging by a thread. But as of tonight, the Pac-12 is still standing. We got a long ways to go here at Peek Around the Corner. So hang with us, stick with us here. Please subscribe to our channel before you leave because we could pop up at any time. We're probably going to pop up tomorrow during a live show. We got a lot more college football stuff to get through. A lot of stuff is happening. So join us, subscribe, smash that like button before you leave. Until next time. From all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.